You're right where you're supposed to be. If you're feeling lost, you're where you're supposed to be. If you're the most confident you've ever been, you're where you're supposed to be. If you're sad, you're where you're supposed to be. No matter where you are right now in your life, is where you're supposed to be. And I'm not talking about destiny or talking about the universe putting you right. No. No. I'm talking about you're at the point in your life that you're supposed to be at. Simple as that. You are at the lesson you're supposed to be at. If you're feeling down, you're supposed to learn from this moment. Right? Because anytime we're feeling down, something good is always right on the other end of it. Anytime we have problems, just an opportunity to work close. Right? So I get it if you're feeling lost. Look, believe me, I'm 21 years old. Alright? I feel lost almost every single day of my life. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Alright? We all believe that we're supposed to be somewhere else, be someone else. We're not. We're supposed to be right where we are at that moment. Because if we decide to try and rail against who we are, we'll lose out on so much. And I don't want to go down the self-acceptance road because I think it's a positive movement, but I think it's misguided. I think that we should try to accept the people we want to become. And to do that, we have to realize we are not them yet. And that's the point. We're never going to be them. Right? A lot of this time we feel that we aren't in the right spaces of our lives because we're not more successful. We're not happier. We're not more content. We don't know what we're going to do with our lives. And I think that there's a point to that. I think we're not supposed to know the answer to everything. I think sometimes life should remain a mystery. And I think that makes it more exciting. Now look, I could be completely wrong, right? But I don't think so. Because look at anyone that ever did anything. They felt lost at one point. And if you're young, you're like me, this is part of it, right? Savor this. Because these are the days you're going to look back on one day. And we all have a choice to make every single day. To either do our best to make it a day we'll look back on positively and with happiness or with regret. And I think that I don't know how to live a good life. I'll be honest, I don't. But I think that the answer might be to give it your all. That's it. I don't think it's to be the richest or try to be the happiest person to ever exist. But I think it's to get to the end of your life and say, I gave it everything I had. I moved heaven and earth to get what I wanted, to do what I wanted, to be who I wanted. That's the biggest thing, right? To be the person you want to be. Because I think about the end of my life a lot, and specifically I think about being 80 years old and sitting on a porch in a rocking chair talking to my grandkids. And in that moment, when I'm talking to my grandkids and looking at them, do I want to either have to lie to them? Do I want to have to pretend that I did things, that I didn't let fear, take advantage of the moment, that I lived life to the fullest, but in reality I didn't? Because yes, they'll never know, right? I was the only one that was there. There was no one else filming it, nothing. But I'll know. And the but I'll know has to be louder than what you care about them knowing. Whether it's your grandkids, whether it's your family, your friends, or society. We have to care more about what we think, what we see. That comes from, last rep I'm getting up, but no one's ever gonna know. But you'll know, right? Or I'm not gonna talk to her because I'm too scared. No one's ever gonna find it. But you'll know, and you'll never know what could happen if you went and pursued that thing, if you tried a little bit harder, if you gave up caring about the pointless shit in life and focus on what matters to you. And what matters to you might not matter to me, but it matters to you. That's the entire point. I think that happiness comes from peace. Peace comes from accepting the world the way it is and being okay with who you are, which comes from lessening the gap of who you are and who you want to be, which only comes from working on yourself, from trying to grow, and from messing up, right? So these things that we call anxiety, maybe it's just a warning. Think of your feelings and emotions as a check engine light, right? The check engine light comes on in your car, and it tells you there's a problem. It tells you where the problem is. It doesn't tell you what the problem is, right? But because we understand that our cars and the engine is going to be right there, we go in, right? And once we go into the engine, we might dive in, and then we find what the problem is. Then we can find out that the problem actually came from some other part of the car. It wasn't even from the engine in the first place, right? It could have been from someone else, and then it triggered a little bit of something. Turns out, problem somewhere else. Our emotions are no different, right? That thing that gives us anxiety. Let's say you're scared to go give a presentation. Are you scared necessarily of what others think of you? Maybe. But I think you're more scared of failing. And are you scared of failing, or are you scared of not being who you want to be? Are you scared of them seeing the real you? There's so much more to that. Now, if you're anxious about presenting, practice, right? Control the controllables. If you're anxious about presenting, that means you didn't do everything in your power to be the best you could be, because at that point, hey, look, if I'm the best I could be, if I fail, it can't be on me anymore. I practiced to the millionth degree. At that point, oh well. We can do that with our lives. I'm not saying anxiety goes away, because anxiety's always there. Believe me, I had panic attack the other day. I'll be honest with you, I did. But I'm working on it, right? Because we can't control when things are going to happen. They're going to happen, right? Bad things will happen. People you love will die. Problems will arise. You're going to feel sad. You can't control that, but we can control how we react to it. Now, I made another video earlier, and I'm going to get into some mental models either later in this episode or throughout the next couple days, but I've been developing some mental models to help when the bad things happen. And that's all we can do. That's it. I would love to tell you how to avoid bad things. You know what? I don't think I would. Because once again, circling back to earlier, bad things are how we get what we want in the end. If you study history for long enough, you'll see a pattern. Over the Earth's 4.5 billion years, there's been 5 earth-shattering events, right? That wiped out civilization as we know it. And there's been hundreds of other catastrophic events, right? Whether it's wars, natural disasters, you name it. And they wipe out a lot of people. A lot of cities get messed up, countries, and these places take a long time to get back to normal, to regroup. But somehow, they always come out better than they were before. No, don't get me wrong, there's always outliers, but with enough time, enough patience, enough work, they always come out better. Now, obviously, we don't have hundreds of years to come up better like civilizations or the Earth does. But the thing is that with the long enough time horizon, enough work, enough effort, I'm talking about you are trying to move heaven and earth to make what you want happen, you'll find a positive benefit. Something good will happen. Being pessimistic does nothing. We somehow believe that pessimism is intelligence. There's a joke that the stock market predicted the 10 out of the last 5 recessions. Pessimism is nothing but the illusion of intelligence. Optimism is a tool of wisdom. So being pessimistic and a cynic does nothing. It's easy. Congrats. You gave in to something easy. you know? And don't get me wrong, I've done it. We've all done it. But it's fighting against this feeling. It's believing in who you are. Believing that you will figure things out. You know, I believe that optimism and confidence are synonyms. Confidence is the belief that good things will happen to you, or that good outcomes will come. Optimism is the belief that good things will come. Now, confidence looked at solely as internal and it'll come for you, but optimism is the same thing. With optimism, you know history that with time and effort and force, good things will come. Now, the thing with confidence is you don't have to actually do anything to get it. There is someone out there that has done what they do 1,000,000 times, and they're still not confident. Then there are other people in this world who have not done it once and believe they can do it with no problem. So you don't need to have any experience to have confidence. Now, I'm not saying to go out there and be cocky and to go try and fight a bear, but what I am saying is that confidence simply is believing that you'll figure it out. That's my definition of confidence. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm going to figure it out. I don't know how I'm going to get the love of my life, but man, I'll talk to enough girls, learn enough, and eventually she'll come. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know I'll learn. I've learned stuff in the past and done hard things, and I can do it again. That's what confidence is. Alright? Stop overcomplicating everything. Life itself is complicated enough. It doesn't need you adding on to it. It doesn't need your assist. I'm sure it's grateful that you tried help making it more complicated. It doesn't need you. No. You need to be more simple in a sense. Right? Because a lot of life's things are simple, but they're just not easy. A lot of things are go from A to B to C. But A to B to C looks like going through a war zone, then climbing up a mountain and jumping over a volcano. But it's simple. You know what you have to do, it's just not easy to do it. And it's mixing all these things that I said together, and I know it might seem like I was just rambling, but I wasn't. There's a point to all this. The point is that you will decrease your anxiety by doing and reflecting and not ruminating. Ruminating means that you're going over and over about the same thing. Nothing's different. Nothing's positive. You're not getting anything out of it. And to reduce your anxiety, you have to understand your anxiety. Like I said before, a lot of times our anxiety is just our internal trying to tell us something. It's a warning light. It's a, hey, I need this fixed, by the way, coming from inside. And for some reason, we don't process it that way. I guess our brains are just assholes. But doesn't mean you can't start now. So I challenge you, as I challenge myself, to start listening to my anxiety when it speaks to me. You know, instead of trying to shut the door on it, I invite it in for coffee. I say, what's going on? It sounds silly, but it works. You have a good day, and if you want, subscribe. We'd love to have you here, trying new things every single day, writing a new book, trying to help as many people as possible. And if not, and if you just got here to make fun of my haircut, I still love you anyway. I hope you have a fantastic day, and you keep becoming the person you want to be.